All right, everybody, listen up. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. My favorite part, how easy the meals are to cook, and, of course, how great they taste. How about some of these upcoming meals? Crispy wild Alaskan pollock and garlic mashed potatoes with roasted broccoli and tartar sauce, cheesy broccoli baked pasta with crispy thyme breadcrumbs, seared steaks, garlic butter with oven fries and romaine salad, roasted chicken and fall vegetables with cranberry and ginger compote. Choose from a variety of new recipes each week, or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Recipes are not repeated within a year, so you're never going to get bored. Customize those recipes each week based on your preferences. Blue Apron has several delivery options so you can choose what fits your needs. And no weekly commitment, gang, so you only get deliveries when you want them. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card and pre-portioned ingredients, and can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. It's so easy. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Check out this week's menu and get $30 off your first order with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. You're going to love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so do not wait. That's blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook.
Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
Here we are. It's that kind of morning. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests coming on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, including Jeff Saturday, Booger McFarland, Gus Malzahn, and the one and only Magic Johnson. Very quickly, just to try and keep catching up on things as we stay on top of all of the sports news of the day, primarily the football news. We just showed on TV during the break the flashback to when you did the Ghost Pepper Challenge, when you ate those burgers at the loss of one wager. Then last Thursday, you ate that chip thing just because you felt like it. That wasn't even a bet. Which was worse? Was the Carolina Reaper Pepper or the Ghost Pepper Challenge? Which was worse?
The Ghost Pepper, where I ate the burger and then dipped it, that burned like going down to the chest into the stomach. The chip, it stuck in my mouth. My mouth was absolutely on fire.
For how long?
For a little while. I mean, probably for a good hour, and then by later in the day, it like bypassed like the esophagus and right to the gut. Later that day, the gut was not good. I can't believe Trey ate another one on NFL Live later that day. Trey Wingo, there was a lot of controversy and with the dropped chip when it broke in half. Did he switch the chips? Because he was the one who said he brought a fake chip. Idiot, why he would say that. He even admitted he was. But he said he ate the chip. So he said, just to prove I ate the chip, I'll do another one during NFL Live. And he did. And it really, and you saw him eat it. And, I mean, it barely affected him. I was stunned at how well he and Damien took it. I was my mouth was hot. My son, Mike, might as well have just melted on stage.
Yeah.
It was just horrific.
And you know, you guys did it. I mean, you went with it. So that's the toughness to see. Mikey looked like he melted. I mean, his face was melting on television. So, yes, Trey's a cyborg. I mean, he's not even a human.
Unreal. He did 2 chips that day. And I was with him the next day in New York. Let's just say it affected him then.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he was feeling it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, it makes me feel a little better because otherwise I was a little bit concerned about his overall humanity.
We were all feeling it.
All right, Mike and Mike brought to you by Upside.com, giving all business travelers the gift of a better travel experience this holiday season. Upside.com. I also did not leave you enough time there, and that was my fault towards the end of the hour, to just give a thought on all the machinations that we saw over the weekend with Jerry Jones and Arthur Blank and Roger Goodell. Again, if you're just joining us, we played you a little sound from Jones. Jerry Jones' team played Arthur Blank's team yesterday, coincidentally and ironically based upon the sort of war that is now at least perceived to have been set up between those two over Roger Goodell's contract, and they did not interact at all, which was said by everyone to be unusual for two owners at the same game not to shake hands and say hello. They did not do so yesterday. What is your takeaway from the weekend?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, to sit there for people to say, well, Jerry Jones is just, he's wrong in this, he's going to lose in this. I think he is. But don't sell Jerry Jones short, okay? Jerry Jones has won some battles, including the type of soda that he pours in a stadium, to not giving back money if ratings are down, way back when the TV deal was done, when the league was thinking about doing that, and he fought not to. He's had some victories. There's a reason his franchise is valued at what it is, which is one of the highest, if not the highest.
It is the highest
in all of sports.
In all sports, yeah, not just the
NFL. This guy knows business. But here, I think... I don't think he's going to win this, because one of the things, you have other owners in here who he is now basically challenging. There is a 6-person committee in the compensation committee who he basically said, I will serve you papers if you do this deal. And they were like, you're going to serve us papers? And he was like, yes. That is a direct line in the sand challenge from one owner to other owners. And basically what he wants is this new contract for Roger Goodell. He wants Roger Goodell out. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But he wants all the league, all the owners to approve it when this committee was made up, and this committee has the power to get the deal done. And to me, I don't think that's going to change. I don't think the other owners are going to acquiesce to Jerry Jones in this and say, you know what, Jerry's right. We all want to see it. This compensation committee was put together to get the deal done. You saw the reports out there that Roger Goodell's counteroffer was $49.5 million, a private jet for life, and health insurance for his family for life, which they are, the
NFL steadfastly
denies that. I had heard other numbers in there of things that they're talking about. Bottom line is, I think this thing is going to get done. I think this committee of 6 is going to get the deal done, and Roger Goodell will be extended and be the commissioner. And then what will Jerry Jones do? Is he going to pursue this? Will he continue to try and fight it? I have no idea. So that, to me, is the bigger story. To me, is where does that leave the relationship? You saw Robert Kraft and what he went through with Roger Goodell, with the whole year-long and more than a year thing with Tom Brady, where basically he had to end up taking it, right? Robert Kraft, the $1 million fine, the draft picks, the losing his best player, and you come out of it the other end. You win the Super Bowl. It's pretty darn nice. And you kind of, I don't know where they are relationship-wise, but, you come out of it and you keep on going. Jerry Jones is going to continue to be the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. And right now he has threatened to serve papers to other owners. Now, this isn't Al Davis. We've seen Al Davis do this. We've seen him sue the league on moving and all that. So it's not the first, probably, or the last time. But, Jerry has been successful, and Jerry is trying to put his foot down on this one.
I'll say this. Arthur Blank has had some satisfying wins during his tenure as owner of the Atlanta Falcons. I'm guessing yesterday was high on the list.
A big one.
And I'll ask you again, just to wrap up that game before we move on to others. Did we learn more about the Falcons in that game or about the Cowboys? The Cowboys felt like they were sort of on the rise. Now they lose Ezekiel Elliott, obviously, and it appears that's going to finally stick one way or the other. And then they played the game yesterday without the left tackle, and they just got humiliated on that spot. And then you have the other side, you have the Falcons, who had been going through, whether it was post-Super Bowl hangover or whatever, they had been an extraordinary disappointment through the first half of the season. And yesterday, they looked like a team that could make a run. Do you buy more into what we saw from the Cowboys yesterday or from the Falcons?
Well, I think more from the Falcons. Again, they did this last year in making their run to the Super Bowl. The defense got pressure on the quarterback. The offense put up points. So that's kind of what we saw yesterday.
They did it all last year. I mean, this year they haven't been doing that.
But you figured it was a lot of the same players, so you wondered if they were going to round into that. And, it looks like, at least for this game, let's go forward here and see where it goes. I mean, they put up 27 in this one. For Dallas, listen, they averaged over 5 yards a carry, right? 21 carries, 107 yards. They still ran the ball decently well. They didn't run it as much. I was surprised. I thought they would run it a little more. It's not like the game was out of reach. It's a 10-7 game at halftime, a 17-7 game going into the fourth quarter. So, and I thought they were running the ball well when they ran it. Here's what I didn't understand. People said, okay, Tyron Smith is out. So should you put Zach Martin, who's a right guard, but he played left tackle at Notre Dame for years and was the best lineman in the country and can play left tackle. You put him there. And I get why you don't. You heard a lot of old linemen come out who are in the media now saying, and I agree with it, you don't want to basically what you say is weaken two positions. So now you have a backup at left tackle, which would be Zach Martin going over there, and you'd have to put your backup at right guard. So technically you're weakening two positions. Mm-hmm. So you basically keep everything the same, put the backup over at left tackle, which is what they did with Chaz Green. Chaz Green was battling with Jonathan Cooper at left guard to try, and Cooper got that job, and Chaz Green, so he's out there playing left tackle and getting worked. Listen, he was getting worked by Claiborne, and toward the end, Byron Bell went in at left tackle, and the same thing happened. What I don't understand is where are adjustments? I said this early about the New York Giants, when their line was struggling and giving Eric Flowers some help. They have more problems. Certainly this Dallas line is a fantastic line. But you're seeing your left tackle get beat time and time and time again. Why don't you help? You know, they go two tight ends 30% of the time, but they don't use them a lot to help in those situations. You just kept seeing, and this is their offense. This is what they're going to say. Our line blocks. We don't do a lot of that because our line blocks. Well, you got backup in, and he's getting whooped. And Chaz Green, to his credit, stood up there after that game and said, this is self-inflicted. I need to get better. I need to do better. I feel it was on me. He stood up there and he wore the hat of responsibility. But where are you in adjusting to that? Where are you in chipping Claiborne instead of letting him run around time after time after time after time without doing anything about it and just saying that's the way we block? I mean, to me, that's a failure in adjusting to what's going on. You know, when we had our 11 sacks, it was all down linemen. We had 5 of us. Now, Clyde had 4.5, Jerome had 2.5, I had 2, Pitts had 1, Reggie had 1. It was spread out. This was 8 sacks. Claiborne had 6. And more, and hits as well. Kept running around the tackle, so adjust a little bit to this. And if you're not going to adjust, and you're going to miss Tyron Smith, he's going to miss more games, and you're just going to leave that left tackle on an island, then I'd say put Zach Martin over there. I'd say put a guy over there who would be better than the guys that you put there over at left tackle and put in one of them at the right guard position, but you can't keep getting beat like that. Can't without adjusting somehow, some way. You just let the guy do it over and over and over and over again. Your left tackles were obviously overmatched, and to me, you didn't do anything to help them.
So Atlanta with a big win in that NFC South race. We'll see what happens with Carolina as they play tonight, and New Orleans has just been phenomenal.
Incredible.
As they went into Buffalo yesterday and just thumped the Bills with 6 rushing touchdowns in the game. A weird day in the NFL. And one other final thought on that, and then we'll get more into it when Jeff Saturday. Has there ever been a rookie who had a more obvious impact than what Deshaun Watson obviously had in Houston? Deshaun Watson, he doesn't start the first game, and they look like they're going to have one of the worst offenses in the league. And then he comes in, and they look like they have the best offense in the league. And he goes out, and they're the worst offense in the league again. It's unbelievable. I mean, Deshaun Watson, his value has increased exponentially from the time that he got hurt and got knocked out for the season. Yep. They're impossible to watch without him.
Yeah, they are. Even the last game that he played, their offense, they lost the game 41-38, but their offense put up 38 points, and he threw
they
for
lost
over
a bunch
400
of games.
yards.
It was incredible. Yeah. In New England, he played an unbelievable game that they lost, and there was one more. What was the other game they lost? Oh, the Kansas City game. They scored a ton of points, and he played great. Yep. He played great in every game he played in.
He did.
He played absolutely great. He actually could still be the Rookie of the Year. You could make an argument for him in the same way that you could have made an argument last year for Embiid, who only played 31 games to be Rookie of the Year.
I get it. He won't, but I get what you're saying.
Who was the Rookie? Was it Malcolm Brogdon, the Rookie of the Year in the NBA last year? They're going to give it to somebody else this year. And look, there are good other options.
Yeah, there are. But
none of them were more valuable to their team than Deshaun Watson.
Really showing up. I agree with you.
All right, we'll talk to Jeff Saturday about that when he joins us. Coming up shortly here, Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance, creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you. I want to get to the college here because it was a spectacular college Saturday, and I will give you my road to the Final Four in a moment. To me, it's pretty simple, except for one thing. There's one thing that could complicate the whole thing. But before we get to that, I think everyone wants to hear your read, your take on the Notre Dame-Miami game, which was stunningly one-sided.
Yeah, it was. Miami winning that one 41-8. By the way, Zach Vigos punted 4 times. I know you were questioning.
Fair enough.
Did they even punt
in
this game?
At the end, I think.
Again, I lost the bet.
Garbage time punting.
Jeff, who played with me in Philadelphia, I have to wear the turnover chain when he sends it up here. Listen, do nothing but give all the credit in the world to Miami. Herbie said it at one point, and it seemed like there were 15 guys on defense for Miami. They swarmed. They were more athletic. They were faster than Notre Dame. They just were. Plays getting run down. Notre Dame it was averaging, 320-some yards a game rushing. They could do nothing in this game. They were getting run down from the backside. It seemed like there were more to block on the front side. So, do you say what kind of adjusting do you do when they're running you down from the backside? What adjusting do you do to stop the rundown from the backside? I asked this question of two players, and it kind of got answered. I said, what happens if Jake Fromm, who's a true freshman, has to throw Georgia back into a game, and what happens if Brandon Wimbush has to throw Notre Dame into a game? And both those, at least for the Saturday, got answered in a negative way. And we saw what Auburn did to Georgia, and we saw Brandon Wimbush at one point got pulled from the game for the backup, and then he got put in again in the third quarter. They just, you know what? They were a step slower than Miami, and they were not executing, and Miami was. So we can sit there and talk about it from the Notre Dame side. And listen, for Notre Dame, it's over. Notre Dame doesn't have a conference championship to play for. Miami found out before that game they were playing in the ACC championship.
Right.
When Virginia lost, they were going to be in the ACC championship game. So they had that no matter what. But where they are, they have bigger aspirations, and they took a monster step in getting there. Manny Diaz, a D coordinator, give him tons of credit for what he did. This is a bludgeoning offense by Notre Dame in running the ball, and they never had to pass a ton for it because they ran so well. He came in and basically said, we are hammering you on the run. We have guys flying all over the place. They created 4 turnovers. That turnover chain came out 4 times, one of them a pick 6. Notre Dame had only turned the ball over, I think, 7 times or something like that leading into that game. Miami got 4 on them. That's what Miami does. So credit them. As I said, Notre Dame looked a step slow and was not executing at all. And they got put in a position that they weren't used to, and that's throwing themselves back into a game, and they just don't have the firepower to be able to do that. So, and that's all a credit to Miami, who now play Virginia and Pitt. Don't blow it, guys. I mean, they got to move past this one now. It was a monster win for their program. It is all right in front of them. I think they're going to be in the top 4 after the rankings tomorrow night. They have Virginia, they have Pitt, and then they have the monster ACC title game with Clemson, as Clemson sits there with 1 loss. So it is right there for them. They earned it. They deserved it. I'm not going to lie. I certainly had some flashbacks because that's the same stadium that my boys played on in the national championship game back in 2013 against Alabama, and that one got away from Notre Dame early, just like this one did. You know, you have to say it, Greeny. I mean, Notre Dame can't win that big game. That monster game from that title game to the Fiesta Bowl against Ohio State was a monster game. This was a huge game, kind of a defining game that can keep you on the road where you need to be. And Notre Dame has struggled to win those games. That's just, I mean, it's right there on the scoreboard. And losing those games big. That's the issue. It'd be one thing if, it's this last-second field goal and you're like, man, we're right there. But it wasn't. It wasn't. And then that's a tough pill to swallow for Notre Dame when you're not in the conference. Now, everybody talked about the playoffs and maybe a national championship game, and now it's, okay, what bowl do you end up in? Because it's done. They're not going to play for the title, and they don't play for a conference title, and that's their own choosing, not being in a conference, and I'm fine with that. But that quickly, man, in 4 hours, man, all of a sudden the goals are a little different now. It was a remarkable day in college football, starting with all of the festivities at game day down there in Coral Gables, and then leading all the way up to that game and the others. And I had a little bit of a cold. I literally watched everything on Saturday. There's nothing from the college football Saturday I didn't see. And so here are my overall takeaways, or where I think it all nets out. If I were voting, here's how I would put the 4 right now. I would put Alabama 1. I would put Miami 2. I would put Oklahoma 3. And I would put Clemson 4. If you wanted to flip-flop Miami and Alabama, I would have no issue with it. I agree. I think that'll be the 4 in the order. The order is going to be the order because, again, if it's Clemson and Miami, they're going to play one another. Right. Now are you going to have the same discussion as we go forward with that we had with Georgia and Alabama? Well, we now have that with Miami and Clemson. That brings me to my next point, which is I think the paths are pretty clear. SEC, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, 1 spot. I believe one of those 3 gets in. If Bama beats Auburn, then whoever winds up in the championship game, it'll be Georgia against either Alabama or Auburn. Now, of course, Alabama and Auburn both play their
whatever, the Louisiana Monroes of the world this week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So they're not going to lose that game.
This week they have their kind of
They're going to win. Winner of that game goes on and plays Georgia. The winner of that game gets in, and in my opinion, that's it. I think that all the talk with Georgia losing to Auburn the way they did, the talk of the loser of that game getting in is over, even if it's Alabama. Now, a lot of people are saying, Greeny, how about Alabama? A one-loss Alabama, if they lose close to Georgia in the SEC championship game, do you think there's still talk of them getting in? They had a very tough time with Mississippi State. That was a great football game, by the way.
That was a great game.
Terrific game to watch.
Oh, Mississippi State, I thought was going to try and go for it.
I didn't like the way that they coached the end of that game, to be honest with you. But whatever. Alabama found a way to win.
Alabama, I think, is going to maybe stay number one. I see your point about Miami, but if they're number one all the way to losing possibly a one-point game in the SEC title game, there's still going to be argument that they might still be in it. But
if you look at the totality of their schedule, it'll be tough to justify. I think I'm with you.
I'm going to go along with your premise and say one team from the SEC.
Next,
I'll do it. Okay.
Clemson, Miami. I wrote down one spot, and here's why. Because I believe Oklahoma, if they win out, they're in. And I believe Wisconsin, if they went out, they're in. And a lot of people tweeted at me, well, Greeny, you don't have Wisconsin in the Final Four right in your top four right now. No, I don't. But if they beat Michigan, which they have this week, and then they beat Ohio State for the Big Ten championship, and they are unbeaten, I believe they deserve a spot.
Not having it in the four doesn't matter right now because two of the teams in the four, one would lose. So that's basically what you're saying.
Well, the real question mark, however, is if Clemson beats Miami in a close game in the ACC title game, and Miami has one loss and it's to Clemson, and Wisconsin is unbeaten, does Miami still get in? That, to me, is the only real question mark of the other four.
Does it come down to what Wisconsin does in the Big Ten championship game? Do they win a squeaker? Or do they really assert themselves and blow out the team that they're playing against?
Maybe.
When score isn't supposed to matter, it most certainly can. Because we're talking about close losses or blowouts as far as separating points, and I don't think when you're talking about top teams, I don't think that's an unfair thing to do.
So to me, those are the only teams that have a shot. People are talking about Ohio State. Look, Ohio State got blown out at Iowa. Blown out.
Yeah, Ohio State's not getting unless this thing gets messed craziness up where Miami loses either Virginia or Pitt before the title, because Miami and Clemson are set for the ACC championship game. There's nothing that can stop that. So Miami needs to not trip up before that, right?
Right.
Those are some of the things that could mess it up.
What could happen is that Miami could beat Clemson handily in the ACC championship game.
Well, Clemson's out.
And Clemson's out, but then Ohio State could, if you're looking for where does Ohio State try and get in, if Ohio State beats Wisconsin, right? And if they beat, let's say, the last time Ohio State played Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game, I think the final score was 71-0.
Yeah, it was
59-0. Sorry.
At that point,
it was
close.
And that's how they got in. And they wound up winning the whole thing. So, I mean, is there a path for Ohio State? It's a theoretical one, but I think it requires a lot of other things going their way.
I would agree as well.
To me, that's it's as simple as that. If all those teams do what they're supposed to do, the only wrinkle is, does the committee decide to put in a one-loss Miami over an unbeaten Wisconsin? Right. And let me tell you, you know how the people at the Big Ten operate. If you're one who is dying to see 8 teams in the playoff, that's your best path to that.
Yeah, Wisconsin just got helped a lot by Notre Dame losing. No doubt about that. That opened up that slot.
Wisconsin pitched a shutout in their game against Iowa this week. They gave up 14 points, and they were both on pick sixes. So, I mean, their defense is that good. By the way, for what it's worth, right now, Wisconsin would be a 7.5-point underdog in the Big Ten title game against Ohio State. Ohio State beats them. That opens up the door for one more team. There's an opening for one team, and in theory, it could be Ohio State, but I wouldn't think so.
How about that Alabama-Auburn game coming up? Holy smokes.
It's great. It's great. You can't ask for more than that. The college season has been every bit as good as the NFL season has been bad.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling that you're safe to enjoy the things that matter most. ADT lets you take that feeling with you, whether you're at home, your business, or online. We help keep you safe with security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance. so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling for less than $1 a day. ADT, home, safe home.
All right, back on the field we go here, talking football on a Monday with Jeff Saturday on Mike and Mike. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning.
I want to ask you a question I asked Golick a few moments ago, because Atlanta-Dallas yesterday was interesting in a lot of different ways, including the owners not speaking to each other before the game. But then the Falcons looked like a team that we sort of haven't seen all year, and the Cowboys looked like a team that is not going to give anybody the kind of run they looked the last few weeks. So which was more real to you? Do we learn more about the Falcons and what they're going to be the rest of the way, or more about the Cowboys and what they're going to be the rest of the way yesterday?
I think the Cowboys. I think, listen, when you look at the way that they lost that game yesterday, Tyron Smith being out, obviously it was a huge issue. But Zeke Elliott, I think it goes understated at how important it is. We talk about the Cowboys offensive line, which is a good offensive line, but it's not the same offensive line, right? They replaced a left guard and a right tackle last year before we even had the injury to Smith, but before yesterday's game. Ezekiel, in any really good running back, I'm not just taking it just from Elliott, but any really good running back covers a lot of blemishes that can happen up front, and vice versa. So when a back's not having a great day, when you bust open, some big holes and he gets through it and kind of gets back into his rhythm, that's where the offensive line fits. There's also a lot of times when, as an offensive lineman, you're on the edge. You don't have a block seated quite as well as you'd like. You're not quite where you want to be, and he blows through the arm tackle, or he sets the block up by really jamming his leg in the ground and cutting back behind you. He makes you look better than you're really blocking it. They go hand in hand, similar to a marriage. I say it all the time. It's, when the husband's struggling, the wife's got to pick it up, and vice versa. Same way O-line and running back. With him not being there, you can tell no one's really comfortable. Dak's not nearly as comfortable. And then you add on top the disaster that was at left tackle. And listen, it is on the left tackle. And I heard Green take a ton of, I heard Bell, those guys stood up.
Yep.
But listen, you got to help. I mean, it's a train wreck and an absolute disaster. And you and I both know you'll walk off the field. You can see in a guy's eyes, hey, I'm overwhelmed. I can't do this. You know I can't do it. I know I can't do it for whatever reason. Maybe it's technique. Maybe it's just a bad day. Maybe the guy's just that good. I think it was a little of everything yesterday, right? Claiborne hasn't done that in the past. All of a sudden, he's having a lights-out day. Your technique goes bad. But you got to help him. I mean, you got to slide his way. You got to either keep a back in there, keep a tight end. I don't care if it's every play, and you have to adjust, because no play is going to get off when it's happening that fast.
How do they not? This is the NFL. We talked about this a lot with the Giants line early on and not helping Flowers.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
This is one of the best lines in the league. Now, certainly playing undermanned with not having Smith out there, but how do you watch a guy go around a guy time after time after time and not do anything?
It's one guy.
One guy.
It's one guy.
It's not like he was moving up and down the line.
Right. It's not like he J.J. Wadded you, right? He went from nose guard to tackle to end. He's moving around. No, he's lined up in the same spot, and you know how to get that taken care of. It is super frustrating for an offensive lineman. And listen, you see technique fail, and it did fail yesterday, but you can help a guy even with a slide when you know Cooper could come out and help, overset the daylights out of him. Make the guy come inside where he's forcing into a double team, even if you can't chip or put a tight end. But really, really a frustrating day, I think, from the Cowboys. And then the Falcons on the other side just took advantage. I mean, Julio had a much better day than he has. Ryan played well. It concerns me with Freeman going out because, again, if this Falcons team wants to get back to who they were last year offensively, it has to go through Freeman and Coleman, or if Freeman's out, Coleman, whatever running back by committee they have to have. That offense only goes when that run game goes and starts hanging up those 30 points. And you're seeing it in every good offense right now. The run game is establishing and moving forward.
I was amazed at that, at the lack of adjustment. I could not believe that they wouldn't help him at all. Over to the positive side, a team that we always say teams are built for a certain thing, and we talk about teams in a dome. Are they built for a dome? What about the Saints?
Oh,
The Saints went to Buffalo. The Saints are 4-0 outside right now. They're plus 87 scoring outside right now.
Yes.
You know, when the weather starts to get bad, if you don't have a playoff game, you know, at home and it's in a cold place, what this team is doing running the ball on defense, you know what you have with Breeze, but I mean, everybody has to be buying into them now.
It's absolutely unbelievable. And when you look at how well this offensive line is blocking, I mean, how many plays I have pulled down on tape where Ingram and Kamara are literally through the line of scrimmage before they're getting touched. And then Peyton is using them, and you can tell the creativity is back in his game. Whether it's in the screen game, Kamara sliding out in the slip screen, or yesterday, the little fake the jet sweep, and they're pitching it to Kamara on the weak side, pulling a tackle one time. The next time they don't block him, they leave Shaq Lawson one-on-one with Kamara.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's like Sean Payton, you know, it's Merry Christmas, right? If it's really anything you do, you're going to do it right. It's a gift, and it just keeps on giving. But to your point, and give the tight ends and the receivers a ton of credit, because how you get from 5 and 8 yard gains to those big plus 30s are because those guys are blocking, and they look lights out. And to beat Buffalo the way they did in Buffalo, man, in the cold, you wouldn't have said that about a Drew Brees team, you know, a couple years ago.
Yeah, it is remarkable when you consider what we would have expected from them and what they are. From the moment you fell in love with the Bills, they've been terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I bought, and it was a disaster. Wow. I bought, you know, and I hesitantly, I bought, and I shouldn't have bought. That's what happens.
You bought high and you're selling low.
Selling very low.
On the Buffalo Bills. Jeff Saturday with the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. And you know that things are going your way when you're the Philadelphia Eagles. They even won their bye week.
Yeah.
They didn't play this week, but Dallas lost, Washington lost, and the Giants continue to lose.
Oh.
And what I tried to identify, because I can't sit up here and say that players have quit.
Right.
That's not a word I'm ever going to attach, because I don't think I'm trained to see that. And that I am well aware of just how damning of a criticism that is. I can tell when someone's playing badly. I can't sit here and tell you they're not giving you any effort. But I got Louis Riddick on Twitter watching that game saying, I'm seeing full-on quit going on these fields out here. He didn't mention the Giants in particular, but I think it's pretty obvious that's what he was talking about. And Ryan Clark was talking about it yesterday as well. Now, all the conversation about the coach, and he says, well, it's their job to motivate themselves. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I mean, as you're watching, especially on the defensive side, but I talked about this early in the year. When you have an offense, and this is when OBJ was healthy. I mean, this is when everyone everybody was built to continue to win, right? They'd never addressed the offensive line in the offseason from the Giants' perspective. Run game was going to be okay, maybe decent, but nothing that you can hang your hat on. When all of their skill guys begin to go down, you saw the wear on this defense. And what happens is, as it accumulates, you see them just begin to get more and more frustrated, because that's where, you know, every team has a thing where you're going to hang your hat, right? On the Colts, we hung our hat on offense. Now, when the defense lit it up and played great, we're going to win a bunch of games, including the Super Bowl. But everybody knows what their kind of bell cow is. This is what it is. The defense for the Giants were that. The money they spent a few years ago, they knew that was going to be. Their defense has struggled, and to your point about quitting, they are not giving full effort in. When the play goes bad, it's going real bad, because you're seeing guys stay blocked, not try to re-rip to get off of blocks. They're not desperate to make a play. When you go watch games that are competitive, you see guys who are getting off blocks and making every effort, even if they're not making the play, to get home. And you're seeing it happen more and more often on that Giants defense, where once a play gets past the line of scrimmage, the back puts his foot in the ground and gives a little wiggle. All of a sudden, there's 3 guys near him and nobody's getting to him. And that's got to be frustrating. And I get McAdoo's point of everybody gets paid, and that's true. But there's also a point where the frustration level and in your locker room, it's so toxic, it's really tough to recover. And you hate to say it, but that's kind of where it is from the Giants' perspective on that side of the ball.
So is the criticism of the coach warranted?
Oh, I think there's plenty of blame to go around. And listen, plenty from the player's perspective, and I'll say this, and we used to say this in our locker room all the time. Be careful thinking the coach should go, because when the coach goes, there's a lot of players going too, because the new guys coming in, they don't have any love for you, right? That coach probably had a lot to do with you staying on that squad and being there. And I remember one of the most insecure times of my career was when Tony Dungy took Jim Mora's job, and I thought, oh man, they run a power offense, it's all power, it's going to be tough for me to fit in. Tony Dungy's a great guy, but he may not like the way that I played the position, and he could have easily moved me on. If McAdoo goes, all these guys who are screaming, hey, we need a new coach, guess what? They may be finding a new team as well, so be careful what you wish for.
Well, I think they're going to get that with the Giants and a total overhaul. And, again, the big question will be whether it includes the quarterback or not.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit back and better than ever,
Absolutely.
if I might borrow a phrase from Mike and Mike. Congratulations to you guys. I think, Kirk, that this show really defined chemistry and being genuine in opinion about sports.
It was one of those things where if you're a sports fan, it didn't really matter what time of the year it was. You always kind of tuned in and got your day started with Mike and Mike. And I really always appreciated the personalities and how contrasting they were. You had Golick over here just rolling around in the mud with the defensive line, donuts, and although he's very trim, I might add.
He is, yeah.
And then you got Greeny over there. He's got the Purell out, and he doesn't want to get sweaty, and this is making a fuss about everything. It just worked, and it was so much fun. We're going to miss them working together, but I know they're on to great things moving ahead.
One of the things whenever I would go in early and be on that show, they never failed to thank me.
Yeah.
What I should do is thank them for letting me be part of the show. It's a lot of fun. You guys did it better than anybody, and wish you both all the success as you continue on in the next direction.
Oh, that's
nice.
very nice.
Appreciate that. We'll have to save some time, and we can tell the story when I spit beer all over Herbie.
Well, let the record show. Herbie is 10 times more germophobic than I am.
Found out that night when I spit beer all over him just how germophobic he is.
Hell, they want to just tell that story? Okay, we'll tell the story. Jeff Saturday is in our studio.
No, I love it.
We're going to ruin the rest of Jeff's time here, unfortunately. So we were at the
Upfront.
the ESPN Upfront, which was done totally differently then. This was at night, and it was sort of like we put on a show. Basically, we put on a show.
All dressed up. I mean, we're all dressed in our
Golick
suits.
and I are hosting it, and it took place like in the round. It was a very unusual night, but none of that is really the point. We're backstage, and we're getting close to the end of the night, so everyone's kind of relaxing. Everyone is drinking beer and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Herbie and I are sitting on a couch. Golick is standing behind us.
Yep.
A dirty joke is told.
Yeah.
And
the punchline is delivered right as I'm sipping my beer.
And Golick spits his beer.
I mean,
all over Herbie.
Drenched him. I got him good. It was a mouthful of beer, and it was on him, beer in my spit.
Now, Herbie jumps up. And at first, I think he's going to be upset because it's his suit. We're all in suits. Right. And then I realize that he is 10 times more skeeved out than I would have been.
Real.
He's hysterical. Herbie is hysterical that Golick has just spat beer all over him.
He was.
In the subsequent conversation, we learned Herbie is very germy.
We didn't know that.
He's very germy.
Know that, yeah.
And he tried to attack. I like it. I like that you
Oh,
brought it
no,
back
he
to
was
him.
all cool about it. He wasn't mad or anything.
No.
He was just like, oh, my God, I have beer that was in some's mouth, and there's
somebody
all over me.
I need a bath. I need a bath in a hurry. Let's get it.
It was the opposite of attack.
It was.
He went into it. He withdrew into himself.
And we were like, oh, my God. He's worse germophobic than Greeny.
He was worse than me. He handled it worse than I would have. And if ever you're handling anything worse than I would have, things are taking a turn.
That's a
but that was very nice of those guys.
Nice.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
right, yes.
All right. Well, we'll save the read for later.
Yeah.
Let's get Jeff into what we wanted to get into quickly in the moment that we have. Vikings continue to roll. But is there a little trouble that you could see brewing on the horizon?
Yeah. Why are we creating drama with Bridgewater and Case Keenum? I mean, you heard Zimmer in the comments he made. I got a plan. Plan might change, whatever that was. You saw Bridgewater warming up. I don't know if that came from Zimmer after the second pick that Keenum threw. But listen, to make a change now would be silly. I mean, this team is rolling with Keenum. Keenum is playing well. Limit your turnovers. I know that's a big deal for Zimmer. Those were two bad decisions. But ultimately, you're hanging 30-plus against a pretty decent defense, and you're rolling. You do not want to destroy chemistry that has been built over the season. And Bridgewater hasn't played in a couple of years. And listen, game speed is not practice speed. I don't care what anybody thinks. When you haven't been out there and you haven't seen defenses roll to different things and give you different looks and which way they're coming at you, I just think I think it's silly to even create the drama. And why put that in Case Keenum's head? I mean, listen, this guy is playing good enough football to continue to win and keep you as a division leader. The last thing you want him is to be second guessing himself or looking behind him. I mean, it's not like he's a seasoned guy that everything's been handed to him. He's the third guy. I mean, Bradford was the second. He went out. I don't understand why you're doing it. In all honesty, I think it's silly.
100% agree that I thought should just be Keenum's our quarterback right now with what he's doing out there. I completely agree. You want to get in touch with us and tell us your feelings on this? Tweet us at Mike and Mike through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Show her how thankful you are this holiday season with beautiful bouquets from 1-800-Flowers.com right now. 24 multicolored roses, $24 to order. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. We got about a minute to go. Philadelphia, Minnesota, Saints, Rams. Put them in the order.
Oh, I go Philly, Saints, Rams, and who was my last one?
Minnesota?
Vikings, yeah. That's how I'd put them. And really, you're going basically on QB. Breeze being up there behind Wentz as well as Philly's playing. You know, but you're looking at the Saints' defense has picked it up. Vikings' defense is solid. I would question if it gets into a barn burner with who you got to rely on. And Goff, listen, McVay has done wonders out there, and with Wade Phillips running that defense, you always have a shot. They are playing lights out and running the ball.
Yeah.
Everybody recognize it's all going through the run games. I mean, as much as you want to look at football and the way it is, it's gotten back to the run game matters, helping defenses. Things are looking good for all those squads.
Really complementary football is so that's become the buzzword, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's always been around, but now Belichick has always talked about it. And back in the day when they had your number when you guys were in Indianapolis.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, I'm just saying.
Thank you. Yeah.
Their offense's job basically in those days was to keep the ball away from you.
That's right.
And it works, and it's working for a lot of teams around the league. Jeff, you're the best.
Thanks
a million. As always, Booger McFarland on all the college stuff next. Stay there. Mike and Mike.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.